This video is going to be a preview of the Lions-Bears rematch in Week 14 in Chicago of a game that the Lions were somewhat fortunate to win at home before the Thanksgiving Day loss to the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to focus on the defensive side of the ball, cover a little bit of two young players who I think are playing extremely well. Brian Branch, it goes without being said that he's playing well. That is a weekly basis. You could probably do a film study video on him, with some exceptions, don't get me wrong. But he's in a high leverage position. He plays safety, he plays nickel against 11 personnel. A lot is asked and a lot is expected of Brian Branch, and for the most part, he provides what he's asked for. Josh Paschal is a guy who I thought played extremely well against the Saints last week. Has some good reps against the Bears in Week 11 as well. I think he had 5 tackles back in that game. I'm not necessarily talking about the fumble recovered against the Saints. I just mean the level of force that he played with. And then I'll talk a little bit about the pass rush, the scheme that they may use to defend a lot of the zone read stuff you saw in that home game in Week 11. And also Aidan Hutchinson's struggle to get free against the Bears in Week 11 compared to the force and the almost 2x speed that I thought he played at last week against the Saints in New Orleans. I thought while he didn't get a sack, the sacks last week was Aquara and Bruce Irvin, clearly. Hutchinson played with a lot of force. He played with incredible effort. I thought he was able to disengage off blocks. If I was just to watch the Week 11 game and the Week 13 game in succession, I would say he looks like a guy who's more healthy in Week 13, and I don't know that he's been on the injury report list at all, but it's Week 14 in the NFL. Most players are hurt. Look, I'm going to talk a lot about pass rush and coverage balance, because that's a lot of the discussion around the Lions defense. A little bit more focus here in this video on containing the athletic quarterbacks. Aaron Glenn can only you want him to control as many variables as possible as a defensive coordinator. In some cases, we feel like he's not done so in 2023. In some cases, I think he's limited by the lack of talent available at certain positions. Week 7 in Baltimore would be the extreme example of that case for me. Unable to generate pass rush against an athletic quarterback who can move around. Additionally, when Jerry Jacobs was unable to play that game, severe lack of talent, I think, and inability to match up coverage-wise in man against the Ravens receivers. Can't control every element, clearly. Talk about the zone read gap exchange that the Lions typically use and did use early in the Week 11 game against the Bears, unsuccessfully, and show you 2 examples of Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone missing tackles in space against Justin Fields, which doesn't surprise me. That's what I would expect to occur when the tackle inside releases and gets up in the face of the linebacker who's got to navigate that tackle and get off the block to bring Justin Fields to the ground. So that's why it's a great concept. Highlight those 2 guys and then talk about some of the film of Hutchinson from that game in Week 11. So let's get to the film. And first we'll talk about the defensive scheme that the Lions were deploying or utilizing. I would like to see Brian Branch at the point of attack more, but of course you can't control where the offense is going to run the football. This is a first possession play. It's a 2nd and 10. Fields on a QB sweep. They ran this 3 times, basically pinning down inside and pulling the tackle and the running back as a lead blocker. You can see you've got really good football players at the point of attack. Branch, Hutchinson, Anzalone, none of which is able to get off the block because they've got leverage. And then Sutton is trying to force the ball inside. Thankfully, Anzalone, and then I think Campbell gets a little piece of him to push him out of bounds. Ends up being an 11-yard gain. Unfortunate start. Same possession. I'll talk about the technique that the Lions are utilizing on the side of the running back in terms of the D tackle that makes it easier for the offensive tackle to release. This is a 7-yard run by Justin Fields on a zone read concept. End zone angle, same play. Because there's a 1 technique here, a guy inside shade of the guard, I mean, this tackle can just release up. He's got no 3 technique to deal with. I consistently thought that they were putting a 1 to the side of the running back, which means on these zone read plays, that tackle, free release, to get up into the inside linebacker's face. In this case, it's Jack Campbell. Campbell's got to try to fight to the outside. They're forcing a keep read. Hutchinson is going to actually, I think, hit the running back. And then you can see the space that's created. Same thing happens to Alex Anzalone later on. Because you've got a 1 technique to the side of the running back, it gives the tackle an easier release. He doesn't have to combo up to anyone. Nonetheless, there will be other things that the offense would try to get accomplished if you put the three technique to the tight end side, or to the back side, I should say, and the one technique, or the inside shade of the guard, to the opposite side. The lack of pass rush was also a factor at times, and this is still first possession. And in my opinion, Hutchinson was a part of it. There was times where tight ends were able to block him. I'm not necessarily talking about this play. I saw two instances in that. I went back and watched this film late last night and early this morning. There was times where tight ends dealt with him one-on-one. I mean, I don't like saying that, and I understand that it certainly doesn't make people happy to hear me say it, but that's the reality. I saw 2 reps where that occurred. This happens to be a scramble up the middle by Fields for 10 yards. You had a huge amount of space in between Hutchinson and anyone else. You have to do a better job defensively as a coach and scheming things up to account for an athletic quarterback like Fields, a guy who can, in one instant, turn an open gap, in that case a huge gap, looked like about a 7 or 8 yard gap, into a 10-yard gain. I thought the goal line defense was lacking passion, lacking aggression. Like I said, I went back and watched the first half possessions, and no one seemed to want to fill downhill on the ensuing play that I'm going to show you. This one's a interesting call on a pass interference on Will Harris down there. Very next play, ensuing play, you've got Campbell inside shade of the tight end, Barnes outside shade of the other tight end, and 2 safeties in between them. So you're trying to account for that space between the 2 tight ends where the receiver inserts, and no one is willing to fill. Campbell ends up being taken down. Barnes ends up being controlled by the other tight end. I don't think either one of, even dating back to preseason, I don't think either one of the Lions' inside linebackers looks good when lined up head up, or in this case, inside shade, outside shade of a tight end. I'll show you the end zone angle so you can see what I'm talking about. It's just too easy. No one appears to be ready, willing, fired up, whatever word you want to use, to fill in that gap that's created when they take Campbell down. Barnes is expanded somewhat, and you've got 2 players, Branch and Sutton, in between them. I don't think that when you teach goal line defense, you want it to be that damn easy. Other problems from the game, of course, you had a big touchdown pass to DJ Moore at one point. I'm focusing on the inability to stop the athletic quarterback, which I think has been an issue. Another zone read gap exchange on the second possession. Running back is to the side of the tight end. Again, you've got the D tackle inside shade of the guard, so that the tackle's able to release up to one guy, and I think the tight end releases outside to go get, I believe that's Kirby Joseph. They've isolated Pascal. I was shocked that early in the game, the defensive ends, the read man, was just running down the line of scrimmage at such a distinct route that it's made it an easy keep read for the quarterback, who to me is their best player. I mean, you may not like Justin Fields. You're a Lions fan, so of course you may have opinions about him that somewhat differ from my own. But the reality is, if you force a keep read, he's out in space. And Anzalone, somewhat similar to situation to the first possession with Campbell, he's got a tackle to deal with. Pascal has vacated. He's got a tackle to deal with. And Fields is going to put his foot in the ground, cut downfield. Very similar, if you ask me, to the one I showed you earlier, and it's the exact same gain, 7 yards. Illustrate it one more time. Inside shade of the guard, almost head up. What that does is this tackle doesn't have any 3 technique in this B gap to combo or deal with. If you did it the other way and you put the 3 here and you put the 1 inside shade between the center of the guard, then maybe you get some more play side stuff there. If the back is to the field, I was taught back and tight end to the field, and you've got the possibility for options. We're going to give you a 3, and we're going to make you combo that guy, try to clean things up for our play side inside linebacker. But in any case, the option game creates conflict, especially when you have an athletic quarterback like that. I don't think that Aaron Glenn so far this year has been able to solve those things. This is same possession, second possession. 4th down, this is just too, I don't like the coverage, to be honest with you, but give the Bears credit for going 12 personnel and manipulating the Lions into putting their base personnel on the field. And what I mean when I say base personnel is you've got 4 down linemen. I believe this is Barnes, who actually puts a nice move on the right tackle. I've always thought that he would be better suited to be the guy up on the line of scrimmage as opposed to Campbell. But look, you've got 3 inside linebackers there on the field, only 4 DBs. So they've manipulated the Lions into keeping their base defense on the field. And what that means is Campbell is out here on the tight end. Branch is backside with Anzalone on the running back tight end combo. Too easy out of the bunch to pick people when it's man, and that's exactly what happens here. DJ Moore ends up running the shoot route out into the flats. No read for Fields. Were he to hold on to the football a little bit longer, he's got possibly the tight end or 18. I'm not sure if 18 is necessarily classified as a tight end, wide receiver, tight end hybrid, whatever. No recognition from the free safety at Kirby Joseph up there in terms of what's developing up here at all, because he's constantly got his eyes on the quarterback by default. And in some cases, I was wrong about Barnes. It was a different play where he was able to put a pass rush move on the right tackle. But including against the Saints, Kirby Joseph's so focused on the quarterback in the backfield that at times he's got guys running right by him. The direct run stuff was different, however. This is Branch. I think he had 3 TFLs in that game. This is a loss of 6 for Foreman. The direct run stuff was not nearly as effective as the zone read. If the Lions can get a handle on this zone read stuff and do a better job defending it, presumably that's what the Bears are going to come out and do. I mean, if the Bears come out and they want to throw the ball 35, 40 times, I think if you're a Lions fan and Lions team, you would take that. You'd say, check, thank you. We appreciate it, because it certainly had trouble defending the athletic quarterbacks in a lot of cases. Lack of pass rush as well is telling. Of course, they didn't have a sack until Hutchinson's play. In the fourth quarter, the strip sack, this ball was, incomplete from Fields to DJ Moore, kind of like a deep, skinny post. Didn't see a lot of wins in this game. Just did not. Even going back and watching it now, it was telling. I think as a Lions fan, you are certainly frustrated by the lack of pass rush. This is the ensuing play, 3rd and 16, by the way. You do get a pass batted down by Kaminsky. I feel like Kaminsky and Pascal are very similar players in that neither one of them is your edge rusher, particularly in a pass rush situation, but neither one of them is a prototypical D tackle either. I feel like they're both hybrid D tackle, DN guys who can do a lot of things well for you. I'm just not sure that having them both on the field at the same time is necessarily what the Lions want to get into. And I'm not saying they are, but I like both of them, and I want to see them both play more. I think they can be effective, but not on the field at the same time. All right, 4th possession, because the 3rd possession was a turnover. This is where you get into what I was talking about earlier. If you can get Branch to the point of attack, both linebackers are blocked up here, and it's not their fault. I mean, you got linemen that are working up to them. One guy's up on Barnes, backside guy up on Anzalone. It is a 3rd and 2, and at some point, your DBs and your nickel need to tackle. Well, Brian Branch is great at it. Branch and Jacobs, who goes low, I believe, get involved in the tackle, force them to a 1-yard gain, force Fields to a 1-yard gain. Same play that I showed you earlier on. Similar conceptually, QB sweep, basically. Creates a 4th and 1, and you've got the very same situation I described earlier. Tight end, running back, same side. I believe you have a D tackle inside shade of the guard, so creating the same circumstance that I described earlier. I believe I'll show you the end zone angle of this one. Barnes ends up with an offensive lineman, in his face. It's a 4th and 1, though. I like to see a little bit more downhill action, but he's trying to figure out where the running back is going, number 1. Number 2, he gets a lineman working up to him damn near instantly. Ends up being a 5-yard gain for Johnson. Pretty good player. End zone angle, same play. Just using this to illustrate to you what I'm talking about. It wasn't a keep by the quarterback, but if you were to presume that this is the read man, you basically have an under front here where you've got a 3 and a wide 5 weak, a nose shade, whatever you want to call him, a 5 technique, and a 9 to the strong side, to the tight end side. The only difference is that 9 technique is your corner to the boundary because you got trips to the field. You can see the gap that opens up, 5-yard gain, 4th and 1. The run game to me was what the Bears were able to get going. This one is an example of bringing a ton of pressure and unfortunately not being able to get there. I think you've got 2 inside linebackers on the blitz. 12-yard gain, DJ Moore on 3rd and 12. Again, this is 4th possession. I think I'll show you the end zone angle in a moment, but you can see the element that you've got going on here. Multiple guys blitzing up the middle, trying to spring someone free. What's he doing? What's Aaron Glenn doing? He's trying to make it to where Fields can't scramble, forcing him to beat you with something else. In this case, he's able to get the ball out hot. Unfortunately, Kirby Joseph unable to finish the tackle. DJ Moore, 12 yards, gets a first down. A couple of plays later, this is the end zone angle, same play. think you're supposed to have a pick here. I'm not sure if those guys just didn't execute it or it wasn't communicated, but in any case, get there just a little bit too late. Do hit Fields, but he gets the ball off, so give him credit for recognizing it. You'd like to create as many 3rd and 12 situations as possible. 2nd and 12, same possession. You're talking about 2 minutes left in the half. It was a quick half. There was only 4 possessions for the Bears. Fields able to escape pressure. So you have 2 very different plays over the last 2 that I showed you. You have a 3rd and 12, heavy pressure. Fields gets the ball out quick, wins against man. DJ Moore gets first down. 4-man pressure on a 2nd and 12. Fields is able to scramble for 6 yards. That's what athletic quarterback does. That's why, when you're talking about high school football, college football, you start seeing athletic quarterbacks used a lot more early 2000s, kind of ahead of the NFL. The NFL was very slow to accept some of this. Have an athletic quarterback, man, it's 11 on 11. Give Fields credit. So 3rd and 6, the very next play, incomplete pass. You do have pressure by Aleem McNeil. I think it's a huge loss because that's a guy who was able to generate sacks this year, able to win some one-on-one matchups. I mean, this is a nasty club by him. He's one of my favorite players to watch film of. I guess IR out for 4 weeks. I hope he comes back completely healthy because I think he's a huge asset for this Lions defense. So in any case, able to get a stop. The zone read stuff, figuring out a way to contain Fields. I don't want to say make him beat you with the pass because that's unfair to Justin Fields because he did make plays with his arm in that game, and he has at times in 2023. To me, you got to take away the zone read. You got to force a give read or half man it. When I say half man, that's kind of what the Lions did in the second half of that game, basically giving Fields a slow read, not allowing him to get a quick read, an easy read, to just either give it or keep it around the edge, which you saw if he's able to keep it in space against inside linebackers that have got to deal with a tackle too. It's a difficult situation. Nonetheless, only a 7-yard gain. All right, transition to some stuff with Josh Paschal, who I think played extremely well last week against the Saints. This is first quarter tackle for. It's not a tackle for loss. It's a 1-yard gain. Paschal is here. Is he an edge rusher? No, he's not an edge rusher from the standpoint of getting after the quarterback, 6, 8, 10 sacks a season. But, man, he looks healthy. He looks quick. He looks like the guy that you saw on film from his days in college. I know he had an injury in college, but to me, he looks like a very effective player in this game against the Saints. 1-yard gain running down the line. Also teamed up with a blitz from Branch, who could theoretically veer off to quarterback if it was a boot away from them. So they had something pre-snap that they knew, I think, or suspected that they were going to get run into the boundary. You'd like to see as many of these plays as possible against the Bears. Put the Bears in those 2nd and 9 situations. A little bit different play here. He's up at the top side to the field. A called stunt to the B-gap inside. I think the Saints were prepared for it. I will show you the end zone angle. Basically, it's a called gap exchange between him and Jack Campbell. So Paschal is stunting inside. I think that's Campbell up to the top side, is looping around, scrape for skin, be tight to whatever shows up, or in this case, bull his way into alignment, which Campbell's pretty good at. End zone angle, same play. It's a third quarter play. No gain for Alvin Kamara. Same play, end zone angle. He's going to stunt inside. He actually ends up almost in an A gap because the left guard and left tackle seem to be prepared for the stunt. And you can see he's got the athleticism to make those plays in that space. Is he going to be an edge rusher at this point in time right now? Well, no, it doesn't look like it. I will show you some pass rush stuff. I think they've got him in the right place, right location on pass rush plays. This is first play of the fourth quarter. Doesn't necessarily do anything to cause this. This is the forced fumble that I think is caused by the left guard, James Hurst, who used to play for the Ravens. And Paschal, of course, recovers the fumble. Huge moment. Allowed the Lions to get a little bit more separation and then hold on for the 33-28 win. Where are they using him in pass rush situations? This is, by the way, this is Bruce Irvin's sack. They're using him here to that side. Later on, you'll see him involved in a stunt with Irvin. He's not a D tackle like McNeil or Bohanna or Jones or Buggs, but he's a guy like Kaminsky who I think can play in here on pass downs. And then if it is a run play, he can react and play in there against guards well enough such that you're not just going to give up so much bulk and so much power and strength that he'll get overwhelmed. stunt later on. I think this is Irvin's tackle when he put Carr out for the game. You'll notice the little swat he's trying. He's trying to break the posture of the left guard. And then what that does is cause the guard to kind of lean, and Hurst was already leaning. And so he's incapable of dealing with this loop to the inside. Not necessarily going to work every time, but it's a move that Pascal uses in a one-on-one. So he's making the guard think, okay, this is a one-on-one. You got to deal with me. No, it's not. I'm occupying you so Irvin can stunt inside. It was an unfortunate play on 3rd and 17. Put Carr out. First of all, hope he's healthy. But second of all, I think it shows the explosiveness that that Irvin still has. Lining him up at edge rusher. I like this call. I really like this call. I like seeing more of this. Blitzing Branch off the edge. This is Okwara's sack when Hutchinson was off the field. Dropping someone out to the boundaries, less space to cover. Is Josh Pascal going to be great in pass coverage? No. This is stuff that Mike McDonald does with the Ravens with all kinds of edge defenders and in some cases D tackles. You got Branch on the blitz. Okwara is going to work from the inside against your more athletic quarterbacks like a Justin Fields. Could you open yourself up at times? Well, I guess you could. But you can't be so vanilla that you're only rushing 4 all the time. I did think he played well against the Bears. I do want to illustrate this play one more time. This is zone read play to the top side. This is Pascal. What he was asked to do was go to running back, force a keep read by the quarterback. I'm saying they need to half-man this more, meaning stay square, go shuffle down the line, don't get out-leveraged by the quarterback, and then you can basically play half of the running back, and you can play half of the quarterback. That's the half-man technique. Some people call it 50-50, whatever you want to call it. It will be a different scheme than what the Lions have generally played this year. Same play, end zone angle. I've already shown you this one in the other portion of the video, but we're talking about Pascal. When he's asked to do something that he can do, I think he does it well. And to me, he looks way better. 5 tackles against the Bears. In the pass rush this year, particularly against the Saints, didn't see a whole lot of wins from him. Didn't see a lot of explosiveness and ability to get to the quarterback. And against a athletic guy like Justin Fields, I think at this point, you want Bruce Irvin out there. You want Aiden Hutchinson obviously out there. Maybe Okwara, Kaminsky, whatever. You guys let me know if you were impressed, number one, by Pascal's play last week against the Saints. I thought he gave him some good reps. And I think he's capable of helping the team more in the future. He's been on the side of Irvin, I think, 4 times in pass rush situations. In this game, you can see he's trying the same basic stunt or swat that I showed you earlier. The last guy that I want to focus on in this preview, one of my favorite players to watch film of, kind of feel guilty of all the film study videos I've done on him. That's Brian Branch. I mean, starting in week 1, just made plays everywhere. And I feel like if you can get him to the point of attack, if you can put him in the locations where the ball's going to be, he's just a guy that he's got this instinctive ability to react during the play. This is his first play of the game, I believe, against the Bears, week 11. And you can see that he's going to attack Fields, force Fields to throw the incompletion. His man, his tight end, stayed into pass release, so Branch basically replaces the edge defender. He has played multiple positions, or excuse me, he's been asked to perform multiple techniques at Alabama over the course of his career there, and the Lions do the same thing with him. I'd like to see him moved around a little bit. You're always going to set the nickel to the field. Don't get me wrong. If you'll notice, the ball is on the right hash, Branch is to the field, to the defense's right, offense's left. He's a great blitzer. Actually, I showed you this play earlier. On one level, I'd kind of like to see him used as a blitzer a little bit more against Fields because I feel like Hutchinson, Irvin, Branch are the guys athletically who would be best suited to try to tackle Fields. I mean, Barnes perhaps as well. Thought there was a good pass rush rep that he had against the Bears in week 11. I thought I showed it earlier, but once the play was illustrated, it was not. This is an example of another way for them to play the option is if you can get it to the field, meaning the back to the field. The Bears are typically not running pistol option. They're usually running what I call A gun or B gun, or some people call it king and queen, meaning the running back is to the side of the quarterback and not behind him. So the running back will cross face, and the quarterback would keep it presumably to the other side. If you can get the nickel Branch to the side of the back, now you make him responsible for quarterback. Now you can do what Aaron Glenn wants to do, which is let me run the DN down and smack the running back in the face, force a keep read, and then I've got my athlete, Brian Branch, who can tackle Justin Fields. The problem is, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, the Lions DB talent to me means they need Brian Branch in coverage as well as much as possible. So using him as a blitzer off the edge, I think, could be a little bit risky. And when I say blitzer, I mean run situations, get him up there to the side of the back. If the Bears will comply and put him to the field, you see in this case, the Bears have him to the boundary. And where is Branch? To the boundary as well. This is the quarterback sweep that I actually showed you earlier, where he's able to be involved. Putting him to the side of the back sounds great. Cool. Well, what do you do if in the middle of the play or right before the ball is snapped, they switch the back to the other side, which is, what a lot of teams do at multiple levels, and clearly in the NFL they can do that in an instant. It sounds like a simple thing, get Branch to the point of attack. The more times they're able to do that, I think the better, particularly with Alex Anzalone out for a while, I guess. Branch is the guy athletically who I think can make the most plays all over the place. Here he is at free safety. Thought this was an amazing rep. Damn near an interception on a ball that Justin Fields threw intended for DJ Moore. You guys let me know what you think of my thoughts in terms of defending the athletic quarterbacks, getting the ball out of his hands. Aaron Glenn cannot control every variable. Clearly, you can't. The offense has the chalk last. They decide what play they're going to run, and they decide which side they're going to run it to. Again, you see the ball is on the right hash. The nickel defender, Branch, is to the field. Technically, you've got a 4-3 look here by the Lions, so he's really at strong safety in this situation and not nickel. Slight variation. Had an interception last week against the Saints. Nice job in coverage, I think, across the board by Branch, Campbell, Barnes, all at the point of attack, all in this area here. Nonetheless, you think that the tight end Johnson should catch this football. These guys put themselves in position to A, cover the running back out into the flats. B, once the tight end releases, Campbell was on top of that, going to tackle him for a short gain. And then Branch is also outside leverage. You end up with essentially a 3-over-2. Feel like it's a really nice job in coverage on that first play, even though Derek Carr had a ton of time to throw the football. You guys let me know what you think of the preview. Somewhat abbreviated. I wish I could every week get 2 previews out for you guys, one on the Lions offense and one on the Lions defense. I try to alternate weeks in what I publish, what I produce as far as previews go. This one's a little late. I wish I could get Ravens and Lions previews done for Monday morning for both fan bases because people deserve it, and whatever I'm able to bring to the table in terms of observations and suggestions. If the Lions can control anything, I think they have to control getting the ball out of Justin Fields' hands as much as possible. He's probably going to end up with 6, 8, 10 carries in the game and 2 or 3 scramble situations where he gets away. Some of that you can't control. When they give you tight end, running back, same side, I feel like you can determine the read, meaning you can determine who's going to get the football if you want to. You can run down the line of scrimmage at the running back, force a keep read, which is what Aaron Glenn usually has his defensive ends do. You could run right at the quarterback's outside hip and force a give read, which is what T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, and the Pittsburgh Steelers have done for years against Lamar Jackson. I'll tell you what happens. By mid-second quarter, Lamar's giving the football and backing out of the way. Why? Because there's hands being put on him on every damn play by a T.J. Watt, by an Alex Highsmith, or whoever's out there. Or you can do a little bit of both. The half-man technique. Half of the running back, half of the quarterback. Respond once the ball is given. You're going to give up a couple of 2- and 3-yard gains to the running backs, but you won't give up 4- and 5-yard gains. That's a very simplistic explanation there for me. If you do it the other way, which is what Aaron Glenn has typically done, and I thought was a tactical mistake early in the Week 11 game against the Bears, run down the line, take away the running back. Now you've got the quarterback out in space with a potential play-side tackle. You saw it 2 times that the inside linebackers have to deal with, and it's just a bad matchup, even if the tackle isn't there for those guys to have to deal with a guy like Justin Fields. You have to give him respect. He's an athletic quarterback. He can make people miss. I hope he plays well in most weeks. I certainly don't hope he plays well against the Lions. I think Aaron Glenn can control about 25 to 30% of that by changing what the Lions do against this zone read option stuff. Appreciate you guys' time. Please feel free to let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. If you think other Lions fans would appreciate this preview look at the Lions' trip to Chicago in Week 14, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.